Hi guys, welcome to my fourth blog in my general election series. Just one little update in regards to the polls and what you'll be seeing along the screen going forward. With the polls now, what I've done is there's been a couple of sites that have come online since I last did a blog for seat calculators, the BBC and Sky. Now that therefore means that I can now get 3 different predictions, and I'm averaging them out, and that's what you're seeing down the bottom of the polls when seats are converted from the polls. That is an average based on electoralcalculus.co.uk, BBC News websites and Sky News. That's what you'll be seeing there. Now, moving on, Labour's manifesto. I have here on my laptop, which is just out of view here, the bullet points from the BBC website in regards to the Labour Manifesto was released on the 12th of April. And here are some of the key points in the manifesto that are coming out of what they're pledging they would do in the next 5 years of government. One of the most important things is the economy. So the past 2 years or so, the UK, like the rest of the world, has been in recession or had a very bad time in the economy. It's just out of recession now, but that's another point. How come it takes 2 quarters of loss of growth, contraction, to go into a recession, but it only takes 1 period of growth to come out of recession, which is what happened. That's another point for another time. But the economy, this is basically what they're saying. Now, the budget that Alistair Darling did 3 weeks ago, he was basically saying that the deficit and the debt that the country has is massive, and this is how Labour intends to go through it with the economy, and here's some of the points they have. Secure the recovery by supporting the economy and halving the deficit by 2014 through growth, fair taxes and cuts to lower priority spending. Lower priority spending? What's lower priority spending? Look at that later. A commitment not to raise any of the taxes of income tax and not to extend VAT to food, children's clothes, books, newspapers and public transport fares. Basically, the VAT sticks to be charged the way it always has been. VAT is a value-added tax. It's presently 17.5% and basically goes on most goods out there in the UK, and a percentage of that goes to the European Parliament and most of it goes to the government. The national minimum wage to rise in line with the average earnings by the end of next Parliament. Now, what I listened to yesterday when I was watching an interview with Nick Clegg and Jeremy Paxman was that the national national average earnings is £24,000 per annum. So look to raise the national minimum wage to keep in line with that. The government as an employer, so basically the civil service, committed to offering a living wage to staff in all departments. This is currently set at £7.60 an hour, which is higher than the minimum wage. So basically this is what they want to make sure that all civil servants, if there's any left, get paid at that rate. Promise to keep business taxes as low as possible. Business taxes. Now, there's confusion over what this national insurance is, and that could come up later in later blogs. Realise stakes in public and controlled banks. Introduce a global levy and reform banking rules. Basically, the banks were the main cause of the recession. They squeezed credit for companies. Some of them went bankrupt, and 3 out of the 4 big ones in the UK had to be bailed out. And also it mentions an option to turn Northern Rock into a mutual rather than privatising it as part of a wider commitment to building society. So basically turning the Northern Rock into from a bank back to a building society where there's no shareholders as such. It just makes it what we call mutual. On to schools and families. The bullet points that I've read from the BBC website as follows. New rights for parents of schools in England to initiate change in school leadership, with underperforming schools taken over by more successful management teams. So basically, if the headmaster and the head teacher and that, you know, the members of staff aren't doing a good enough job in the school, they get replaced. Expansion of 3 nursery places for 2-year-olds and 15 hours a week of flexible free nursery education for 3 and 4-year-olds. This is basically down in England and Wales. Scotland and Northern Ireland and Wales have their England and Wales. Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales have their own education policies. 1-to-1 and small group tuition for every primary school child falling behind personal tutors and choice of good qualifications for secondary age children. So basically, I'm not quite sure what they mean by good qualifications. Are they talking about English? Are they talking about their vocational skills? What are they talking about? That's a bit of an interesting one. Every young person guaranteed educational training until 18, with 75% going on to higher education or workplace training by the age of 30. Right. Okay. So basically you're keeping them in training longer so they have a better chance of getting more of a job when they go out of that. Commitment to raise living standard for the squeezed middle class from 2012 with a toddler's tax credit equated to £4 a week extra for families with 1 and 2-year-olds. Okay, that's interesting enough. Up to 70,000 advanced apprenticeships a year and skills accounts for workers to upgrade their skills. That's a good idea. Paid paternity leave doubled from 2 weeks to 4 weeks. Now that's a big point. There's a lot of fathers out there who only have 2 weeks paid leave for the children when they're first born, and women have 6-7 months maternity leave. So they were trying to make that equality, although I don't think that's far enough in my personal opinion, even though I'm not a father yet. It certainly doesn't seem enough. The health service, the National Health Service, the thing that Labour brought in 62 years ago. It was a Labour government that created the National Health Service. This is what the National Health Service is saying, what they'll do to it this time. Patients in England guaranteed to get results of cancer tests within a week. Again, I'll make the point that Wales and Scotland have a separate policies through the devolved governments for this. Maximum of 18 weeks for treatment after initial GP consultation or private treatment will be offered. Right. Routine health checks for those aged 40 to 74 aimed at preventing heart attacks and strokes. Do you know what? Maybe health checks should be from all life. Why should it just be health checks from 40 to 74? Surely it should be health checks for everybody, because heart attacks and strokes, yes, they're more common in that age group, but they could happen any time. So that's something maybe. Okay, it's a start. National Care Service to ensure free care in the home for those with greatest needs and a cap on the cost of residential care. This is something similar to what's happening up in Scotland. Scotland has free personal care for the elderly. It's been a policy for years now, and this is the first step down in England to England and Wales to improve this. Every hospital become a foundation trust with more freedom to run its own affairs. Yeah, okay, right, you've got bureaucrats, and there's a lot of bureaucrats in hospitals at the moment, a lot of red tape. Would it make it run a bit smoother? Not sure yet, not sure.